Today's lesson and activity have to do with writing a rhymed couplet. Please pay close attention to the instructions. We're looking to write these exactly like the samples in terms of capital letters, punctuation, number of syllables per line. So please do not attempt to write this before watching the lesson, and after you've written it, double check that yours look like the samples. First of all, this is a couplet. That means two. A couple is two, no more, no less. We're looking here for two equally long lines, not sentences, but lines. In the case here in red, this is the first line, this is the second line. We're talking poetry in lines, not prose and sentences. We're looking in our rhyme couplets to have end rhyme, meaning rhyme at the end of each of your two lines. That's it, not internal rhyme. A lot of people write these and they end up writing things like the man kicked the can and ran. No, that's not what this is at all. The rhyme should only be at the end of the two lines. So let's look at a couple of examples by Alexander Pope. True ease in writing comes from art, not chance, as those move easiest who have learned to dance. So here you notice that chance and dance rhyme. That's just an AA rhyme scheme. And we're looking to write rhymed couplets that have 10 syllables per line. You can get away with 9, you can get away with 11, especially if it doesn't go 9 then 11, but it goes something like 9 then 10 or 11 then 10. And that's the case in this example. And we notice as well that I capitalize the first word of each line. That's something that's true most of the time in closed form poetry. I have a comma after the first line and a period after the second. This is what we're trying to imitate here.
If you struggle with this, then what you want to do is put your hand underneath your chin when you're talking and going through a particular word. Take the word particular, particular. We see that it is 4 syllables because my chin is hitting my hand 4 times. And a lot of students have a hard time with it and end up counting more or fewer syllables than there actually are in a word. So that's just a little trick for you to use to tell how many syllables there are in a word.
The second one is from a poem that's actually titled, "Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night." And the second line of this rhymed couplet that ends the poem is, "Rage, rage against the dying of the light." That means that if you think you're going to die, that you should fight to stay alive and not go gentle into that good night, by Dylan Thomas, a very famous poem. He used a period at the end of the first line. We're going to do ours as a comma. The reason he uses a period is because that first line gets repeated over and over again throughout the poem, so it doesn't need to flow into the next line. But if you notice again, that night and light rhyme, those are the only things that rhyme in it. There's no internal rhyme in here. And that each line is actually exactly 10 syllables. So today you're going to write your own. 2 lines with an AA rhyme scheme, 10 syllables per line. As I said, 9 or 11 usually work as well. We capitalize the first word, as you can see here in blue, in both lines. We put a comma after the first line and a period after the second. And we might as well write about something that is topical. So anything about the coronavirus vacation, what you're doing with your time, what your day is like, when you get to wake up, whatever you want. My example here, which is not about the coronavirus, is this rhymed couplet should be only 2 lines. To write one well, you'll need to use your mind. And so, yes, that is approximate rhyme there, but that's pretty close. Lines, mind, pretty much rhyme. If you have any questions, please email me. You can send me your rhymed couplet in your email if you want to get some feedback to make sure that it is exactly right to insert into this document. Everybody needs to go to Google Classroom. That's where I put this document. I made a copy for everybody. You probably do this in your other classes. And so you go into your copy and the explanation and everything is here. It all should sync up with the video, and you write your rhymed couplet here. Notice it has enough room for just 2 lines, but you have to hit enter after the first line to move down to the second. Don't just continue it and expect that it'll automatically move you down as it would if you were writing a paragraph. Instead, you have to hit enter and you write your second line there. One thing I would try not to do is to end your first line with a word like coronavirus or orange, words that don't have a lot of other words that rhyme with them. In fact, orange doesn't have any words that rhyme with it. You have to choose a word that has a lot of rhymes. I have a rhyming dictionary on here you can link to. You can type in any word into it and it'll give you all the rhymes for that word. But some words work better than others. If your first line ends up being too short and say it's only 8 syllables, then you need to add a word somewhere in the middle of it to make it 10. Same with the second line. You have to add or subtract words to make it exactly 10, 10. Only the last word in each line should rhyme with each other.